So it's been a few days now since April 1st, which was the day that Ed Piskor, comic book artist, writer, creator, um, and creator of the YouTube channel Cartoonist Kayfabe, took his own life. He did this because he was made to feel helpless and worthless as an internet mob descended on him and passed some very harsh judgment of him and his character after some admittedly unsavory allegations came to light. Now, I'm not going to get into the fine details of that situation because I simply don't care to. Um, I think that allegations, when made like that, need to be taken seriously and considered. But that's for law enforcement to do. That's for people, that's for the parties involved, for the people with the information. It's not something that keyboard warriors should become involved in. And it's all they do nowadays. The moment a rumor breaks about somebody, people just lose their mind and post the worst tweets, clickbait YouTube article videos, and publish clickbait articles with damning headlines. I saw some that were like, Ed Piskor is in the grooming business. Ed Piskor is evidence that the comic book industry needs to be burned to the ground. All right, well, Ed Piskor killed himself, um, and he didn't need to. He didn't need to get to this point, um, because everybody had a lot to say, even though they knew nothing about the situation. They put their own context on things, put their own tone in his words, and he felt helpless against that. But I don't want to focus on that part of the story. Like I said, I would like to talk about Ed Piskor and the impact that he had on me, because unbelievably he did. I it's so this has been a weird few days for me because I've been affected by this a lot more than I thought that I would. Um, because I didn't know Ed Piskor personally. I've never met the man. I can't I can't say, maybe he was a scumbag. I don't know. I don't know that. But he was undoubtedly, just from watching his YouTube videos, which I did every single morning. Cartoonist Kayfabe was a daily YouTube show. I watched it every morning, even if I had never heard of the comic, especially if I had never heard of the comic they were looking at. But he was undoubtedly one of the smartest and knowledgeable people about the comics medium that I've ever had exposure to. Maybe there's others that are out there that know more, but he was the only one doing it daily on YouTube and doing it in a way that was enthusiastic and infectious and just fun. And it helped that he had his good friend Jim Rugg with him. Their banter, the way they worked off each other, unmatched. Great, great channel. And Jim Rugg is posting like what they had left that they hadn't published now. So every new video that comes out, it's it's great. It's a blessing that we get to see more. But also it's just one more video until we get closer to the last video. Hmm. And that sucks. This is falling apart. I didn't expect to get emotional about this. Like, again, this has been such a weird few days. So my biggest regret right now is that this past December, Ed Piskor and Jim Rugg were both in New York for Big Apple Comic Con, which is a con that I usually go to. And I decided not to go this year. Before I knew they were going, I had decided that I wasn't going to go because just a couple months earlier, I spent a lot of money at New York Comic Con, and I thought, I'll save it. And I found out that the Kayfabe boys were going to be there. I thought, oh, I would really love to meet them. I would love to talk to Ed, tell him, the effect that he's had on me and my comic experience. And I thought, nah, I just spent all that money. It's not like it's going to be the last time they're ever going to be at a convention near me. Well, it was. So now I'm never going to get to meet. So what I would just like to say here is what I would have said to Ed if I had a chance to meet him, which is your channel, what you've done with Cartoonist Kayfabe, fundamentally changed my outlook on comics and what they could be. I had been reading comics for about 7 years when I discovered kayfabe, and I was getting bored, and I didn't even realize I was getting bored because all I was reading was Marvel and DC new releases, and I was unsatisfied, and I didn't know, and I had exhausted all of the classics, at least the ones that you hear about from those big two publishers. And I felt like the hobby was just kind of running on steam. But discovering kayfabe opened my eyes to alternative comics, indie comics, stuff that I have seen at the comic book store for years but never picked up because I didn't know what I was missing. Stuff like Robert Crumb, stuff like Dan Clowes, Charles Burns, Mobius, Rick Veitch, more, so much more. And discovering those creators, it's like it's all I read now. I'm obsessed with it, and there's so much to it that it's a vein that's never going to run out, and it's a vein I never would have discovered without Ed and kayfabe. And it completely reinvigorated my love of the medium. I understand art better now because of him. The art of comics, the art of visual storytelling. I owe everything, basically. Prior to them, comics were something that I read, and the art, I didn't have a lot to say about the art. And now I've got a lot to say about the art. And obviously kayfabe was a big influence on me. I do my bad impersonation of them every Saturday. I have a video, a comic read along that I do. Um, it's nowhere near as good as they do it, but it's fun. It's a format that I like and I enjoy. I owe it. I owe it to him. Because I don't know if it's ever been spoken on the channel. Maybe it has, but I feel like kayfabe was Ed's idea. He was a guy that dedicated his entire life to the study of comics, the study of creating art in that medium. And God, he just knew so much. And he wanted to share it with everybody. That's all he wanted, was to share that with everybody and make people appreciate comic books as a true art form. And it sucks. It sucks that he's gone. And for what? And for what? Really? Didn't need to happen. And so that's what I would have said to Ed. Maybe it would have been a lot more conversational, and I'm sure he probably would have interrupted me and shot the shit and talked about, oh, thank you. I don't know. Who knows how he would have reacted. But I would have liked to have the opportunity to have that conversation. So yeah, thank you, Ed. I wish that I was going to be watching Cartoonist Kayfabe long into my own life. If you have never watched a kayfabe video and you like comic books, what the hell are you doing? Get over there. They have a big back catalog for you to discover. It's awesome. And it's going to change the way that you read comics for the better. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Jim, for continuing to post what you guys have left. My condolences to Ed's family. Your marching orders today, everybody, are to be kinder to each other and to read more comics.